What is going on, everyone? It is referee Rob Jackson back with another video, and yes, it's been a long time. I have a couple new additions to the referee background. I got that red striped referee shirt from my XWE show. From my booking at the XWE show over in St. Cloud, and right under that, that's holding it up, is actually one of the chairs that we used for my very first Eddie Guerrero spot that I got to ref for. So that was a lot of fun. Anyways, we're going to be reacting to a video that had caught my attention, and I was thinking, like, all right, you know, there might be something that I agree with in this, there might be something I disagree with this in this, but like the title of it is CM Punk was right and nobody listened. As you can tell, I got the new hat, and I got a green. The one I had was the green one that I had over the camera. Yeah. So, fair warning, it is about to get a little bit, you know, in here. So. All right, let's do it.
Ghost stories require a specific kind of death. Not every passing leaves a shadow. A soul has to be violently severed mid-sentence, mid-argument, gripping onto something so fiercely unresolved that it anchors them to the exact spot where their life was interrupted. The most terrifying hauntings are the ones where the living can't tell whether they are feeling a conscious presence or just the violent echo of a dying moment. This particular haunting began on a freezing Monday morning in January 2014. Phil Brooks dragged his broken body into his employer's office and whispered that he was done. His body was failing. A herniated disc, bones grinding on bones, broken ribs, a lingering concussion from 2 nights prior that had been completely ignored, and beneath the skin, a rotting staph infection on his lower back. A mass of decaying tissue the company doctor had dismissed as a fatty deposit for 3 agonizing months. They fed him pills that merely masked the rot, leaving his physical vessel failing, consumed from the inside out by a poison he was never equipped to fight. So he walked out of that concrete building. He got into a car, and he vanished into the cold. CM Punk died that morning, but the phantom never left the arena. It seeped deep into the floorboards. It rose through the suffocating air, infecting the crowd, mutating into a 3-syllable hex. Thousands of possessed voices chanting his name at moments that had absolutely nothing to do with it.
And yes, let me turn the volume down on this. And yes, at some point, we will be covering the Colt Cabana podcast episodes of Art of Wrestling with CM Punk. Both of them. I'll have to split them in intervals to do it. But yes, I will be reacting to that too, because I've listened to it before. It was years ago, but I will listen to it again. Because everything that Punk said in it was true. And like everyone was like, oh shit. And then this painted WWE in a bad light. And then for years people kept saying, oh, you know, Fragile Phil, this, and this, because he goes to AEW, gets injured. It's like, dude, man has like 7 years of ring rust, or 6 or 7 years of ring rust, and fucking like this man, like he was you know, injured, and like, you know, all this other shit. He left because of said injuries and mental health and physical health, and you know, the way that the locker room was, the way that he was having his problems with Vince and Hunter, Vince and Paul, and whoever was in, you know, WWE at that time, the people he had his problems with. Like, there was like a whole litany of reasons as to why Punk had left WWE. But that is one of the things we are going to be reacting to. So,
do with him, unprompted, uncontrollable, a starving poltergeist, desperately searching for its host. For 7 hollow years, it drifted from arena to arena, a disembodied parasite borrowing the bodies of other men, feeding on the bitter energy of the living.
And then The Rock calls Punk.
Phil Brooks made the mistake of walking back through the curtain. The ghost has found its vessel, and it has been slowly consuming him from the inside out ever since.
Really?
In this video, I'm going to be making a 3D game in just 1 hour, but all the 3D assets...
Let's get to it.
Before the ghost, there was a man, and before the man, there was a car in Lockport, Illinois. Phil Brooks was 8 years old, coming home from a Little League game, when his father started vomiting at the wheel. For one terrifying moment, the boy was certain his father was dying. The specific terror of a child who has not yet learned the taxonomy of adult dysfunction and can only read the symptoms without the diagnosis.
I remember one time my dad being extremely late to pick me up, and he picked me up in his work van. He's an electrician. I remember like driving home. He's throwing up like the whole time. He's just like driving. I was a kid. I didn't know anything about anything. I just remember getting on my bike when I got home, just like in tears. Please don't let it be cancer. Please don't let it be cancer. Because I didn't know.
When he finally understood what the monster actually was, he tattooed the exorcism across his knuckles years later. Drug-free. His entire philosophy in 2 words, etched into the bone that makes contact when you throw a punch. His mother's bipolar disorder went untreated until it became a weapon against him. His brother stole money from the backyard wrestling promotion they built together as teenagers. The one pure thing Phil Brooks had constructed from nothing that was entirely his own. He found out. He filed the paperwork. He made the excisions. By his early 20s, he had arrived at a cold, dead conclusion. Blood had proven cursed. So he tore down the traditional idea of family and resurrected it from scratch.
The blood of the covenant.
Walked into the world of professional wrestling.
So everyone always has a tendency to use the phrase "blood is thicker than water." Like they don't even know the full quote, the context of the phrase itself. The phrase itself is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water in the womb. Like that's you. The fact that people take and twist that, like, it's so stupid. It is what it is, though.
Wrestling, dragging a lifetime of ghosts behind him. And there, he found the one artifact that could turn raw anger into a haunting: the microphone. He was extraordinary with it in the way very few performers in any medium are extraordinary. Audiences could hear something bleeding underneath the words.
It's the microphone.
And the combination made him impossible to dismiss. The anger was real. The grievances were documented. The contempt was venomous.
Everyone misreads the word that Punk uses.
IWA Mid-South,
but it's
North
the microphone
WA Midwest,
that's the weapon.
Border
he
City
uses
Wrestling.
That weapon to
Promotions running out
so
of
much.
bingo halls and armories in front of crowds that arrived in triple digits on a good night. He was performing complete possessions. The straight-edge zealot, the wronged man, the voice that named what the room was already terrified to think. For 40 people in warehouses that smelled like cold floor wax and rusted folding chairs, with nobody watching who mattered. The myth of Second City Saint was being assembled in buildings history would never record. On March 1st, 2002, a 23-year-old Phil Brooks competed in a triple threat match alongside Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. in Indianapolis. After the match, Guerrero noticed the ink. Drug-free. Brooks explained the vow. Guerrero told him he needed souls like him around. A dying master of the craft telling a young wrestler that his sobriety was a lifeline for someone else's survival. The mythology of CM Punk quietly breathes its first breath there, in a desolate parking lot in Indiana that nobody filmed. Ring of Honor gave him the room to become CM Punk in full. In the original Summer of Punk in 2005, he sat cross-legged at the entrance ramp, the exact posture he would use 6 years later in Las Vegas, and told an audience that the championship was leaving with him when his contract expired. He had rehearsed the incantation before he ever performed it on the biggest stage. The building was smaller. The ritual was the same. Then came WWE, and then came the first lesson in how the meat grinder works. They signed him in 2005 and banished him to ECW, a purgatory rebuilt from the bones of a dead promotion, running on a network nobody watched, treated internally as a developmental holding pen with a television deal. He won the ECW championship. He held it twice. The championships were real, but the platform was a cabinet drawer nobody opened. The company had a monster who could do things on a microphone their golden boys could only dream of. And their answer was to bury him in a place most of their audience would never even glimpse. He came to Raw eventually. He won Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 24, cashed it in the same night, and became World Heavyweight Champion before most people understood what was happening.
The next night.
The reign lasted 2 months. The company's pattern with CM Punk in these years was legible from the outside, even when those inside refused to name it. Elevate, hesitate, redirect. Give him the ball. Then take it back before he can run.
That was my favorite
feud with Jeff Hardy in 2009 became a turning point.
CM
Hardy
Punk
was
versus
beloved.
Jeff Hardy.
The daredevil, the crowd's chosen.
All right, listen. CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy was my absolute favorite feud of that time because, man, I was such a mark for Jeff Hardy. I kid you not. Like, oh, man. And I was also a mark for CM Punk. So, it's like when you got your two favorite wrestlers facing each other finally. Oh, man, and you're like, fuck, like, these two are really good. Like, Jeff at the time was BTO, man. Like, he was BTO. For those of you who don't know, Certified Hood Classics know that BTO was bigger than Obama. Jeff Hardy in 2008 and 2009, both years, were bigger than Obama. And that's how popular he was because he encapsulated the masses. But on the internet side and the indie side, you got the fans of the indies and CM Punk, who like saw his work, you know, like he said, the legend of the Second City Saint rises from the ashes of his his world that was burned down after he signed that contract, the WWE contract on top of the Ring of Honor title, who comes up and he makes his mark and he keeps going and going and going and going, fighting two guys who fans wanted to succeed but never expected would succeed in this company. I mean, they always had expectations. They expected him to, but never expected WWE to actually pull the trigger with these two and give them a run. And the fact that they came together to create one of the best feuds, and even though like the titles switched hands multiple times, this is fine. This kind of a feud is fine to do that. And when I say this kind, I mean of one that tells a fantastic story that legit have fans split down the middle. Like this wasn't like this wasn't like, or this one not even split down the middle. Like, I mean, well, they did, but like they had the WWE fans versus the indie fans legit split between each other, because the indie fans were cheering for CM Punk even when he was playing the role of a heel, and the WWE fans were cheering for Jeff Hardy. But it wasn't just that. It was the fans who live a free lifestyle, quote unquote, like myself and others at that time that like, you know, like we like, you know, like it's those who live that free lifestyle, you know, doing whatever, in the creativity and whatnot of Jeff Hardy were also cheering with him. And then those who were living in the drug-free straight edge lifestyle, who were fans of, you know, that the indies, you know, like the artistry of wrestling in itself, were cheering for CM Punk. So you had fans literally split between them for all of the right reasons. Not the wrong reasons that TKO is doing now, but for all of the right reasons. Like, I kid you not, this was a hell of a time to be watching WWE. Even though this was the PG era, this was the PG era at its peak. Okay, at its peak. You had cult leader Randy Orton with a shaved fucking chrome dome head running around kicking people in the skull and ending their careers and putting them in hospitals and shit, versus Triple H, who was, you know, a surprisingly pretty good babyface, but like, you know, he, you know, getting revenge on Randy for fucking like for Randy RKOing and DDTing his wife, and then kissed her while she was unconscious. Weird fucking story to tell, WWE. But like that, you had this, you had you know, Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. You had fucking who do you have? You had Edge versus whomever, Edge versus Jeff, Edge versus Taker. Dude, even though Ruthless Aggression era technically ended by name, like, it's still carried out until about 2010, 2011. 2011 is when the PG era died, or almost fully died out. 2012 and 2013 were decent, but I think 2014 is where the PG era fully died out completely. And then the reality era started to kick in. But oh man, like I'm telling you, the peak of the PG era was 2000, the end of, or was mid 2007 to the end of, shit. I want to say mid 2007 till at least. Oh man, this is tough. I want to say till at least mid 2014. Mid 2014 is where, because like, dude, the PG era peaked, and I mean it peaked in its entirety, and then it just went downhill from there towards the end of it, and then we got to reality and yada yada, blah blah blah. But yeah. But this feud, this was the start of showing you how real it can get. Because aside from, Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels, like this took this is what started. I feel like this is kind of the feud is what started the reality era, because instead of going character work and all that, this is where they made it real. CM Punk and Jeff Hardy made this real. This is amazing. This peaks storytelling at this time.
The performer who made arenas feel like they loved him personally.
I was a mark for both, but when
standing
Punk turned
across
heel,
from that
I hated
adoration
him.
and dissecting it on a microphone. He built a psychological torture chamber for Hardy.
I loved him because he knew how to talk. He knew how to piss off the audience, but I hated him because he pissed us off too well.
And delivered it with the contempt of a man who believes every word he's saying.
I certainly won't ever skip a WrestleMania because I failed a test. Unlike Jeff.
That's the shit I'm talking about.
TheorySabers.com,
that's the shit I'm talking
away
about.
A ton of free sabers right now. 2 free sabers.
Oh yeah,
with
I
every
love
single
TheorySabers.
purchase, 20% off site-wide, or get a free replica SE with every single replica purchase right now at TheorySabers.com. Take advantage of the sale. Dual ready, exclusive sound fonts.
I'm leaving this in because
like Nick Gillard, Roger Christian, TC Carson, and more. Check it out for yourself and see what all the hype is about at TheorySabers.com.
I'm letting this air because I love Star Wars Theory, man. I love his theories and I love his videos, and TheorySabers looks fucking awesome. And he was working. And here's the thing: he's working directly with Roger Christian, the one who, fucking. Oh man, dude, but yeah,
praised him for it. The character was working at a level that demanded the main event, but when Hardy left, the program ended, and Punk was redirected again. Then, on June 27th, 2011, in Las Vegas, he sat cross-legged at the top of the entrance ramp and picked up a microphone.
Ironically, June 27th.
What followed was 24 minutes that blurred the line between reality and fiction. He named names. He cited contracts.
I don't know if you're as good as Dwayne, though. He's a pretty good ass kisser. Because before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
The pipe bomb heard around the world.
He said the things that everyone inside that building had been thinking for years, and nobody had been permitted to say out loud. He called it a pipe bomb. The internet called it the promo of the decade. That night, CM Punk became synonymous with rebellion. WWE responded by putting the championship on him, hoping the rebellion would fade.
No, he was always synonymous with rebellion.
And the man who pushed it further was Paul Heyman.
Yes.
Heyman was no stranger to Punk. In fact, he was the first person inside WWE with real power who had fought for him when it mattered. When Punk was buried in developmental, it was Heyman who kept the door open. When others wanted him gone, Heyman kept pulling him forward. When the company didn't know what to do with him, Heyman gave them a reason to try. He stayed with Punk as something that almost doesn't exist in professional wrestling, a genuine intellectual peer.
Exactly.
He understood the microphone the way Punk understood it.
Who you gonna put me with? CM Punk. I'll see you Monday.
From the inside out, as a mechanism for delivering truth at volume and watching it detonate. When Punk's second WWE Championship reign began in 2012, Heyman stood beside him, and the combination produced some of the most coherent character work the company had seen in years.
It was after he had attacked The Rock.
Heyman as advocate, as amplifier, as the man who understood that Punk's particular gift required a specific architecture around it to reach its full voltage. The working relationship contained, from the beginning, the precise mechanics of its own betrayal. Heyman's loyalty has always been instrumental, aligned with whoever holds the position he needs held. Punk understood this and signed on anyway, because the collaboration was too valuable to decline on philosophical grounds. The alliance lasted until it didn't. Heyman's eventual defection, the steel chair, the turned back at the moment of maximum consequence, was a wound that never fully closed. It informed everything that came afterward, the paranoia about institutional betrayal, the pattern recognition that sometimes found conspiracy where there was only human unreliability. He held the WWE Championship for 434 consecutive days, the longest reign of the modern era. Yet he main evented only 5 of the 15 pay-per-view events during that stretch.
Fucking
At Over the
WWE,
Limit
man.
2012, the WWE Champion was not the main event. The main event was John Cena in a comedy match with a corporate executive. He was the champion. He was not the event. Later, he watched a part-time performer walk in at the Royal Rumble and take the championship his daily labor had kept warm. And he looked at that man and told him, in front of thousands of people, that everything in his career had been handed to him.
The fact that Dwayne is in the main event of WrestleMania next year and I'm not makes me sick.
Every word was accurate. The accuracy was the weapon. By January 2014, the weapon had been used so many times that the body carrying it had begun to fail.
What the fuck?
The herniated disc, the knees, the ribs, the concussion, the infection.
And yank my shorts down, and I show him the fucking thing on my back.
What kind of doc? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he looks right at it. He doesn't touch it. He just looks at it, cocks his head sideways, and he goes, "That's a full-blown staph infection."
Full blown.
Yeah, and I looked at him and I laughed.
Phil Brooks, who made a choice
That's
at
the
8 years
podcast I was
old
talking
never
about,
to allow
Coca Bennett
anything
podcast.
that
If you
kind
don't
of
know
authority over
Art
his
of
own
Wrestling.
body, had spent a decade in a building that was borrowing his body on an indefinite loan and calling it gratitude. At the Royal Rumble on January 26th, he entered at number 1 and lasted 49 minutes in that condition. A clothesline gave him a concussion partway through.
Oh,
he was told to
Kofi,
stay
yeah.
in. He was eventually eliminated by a man in a business suit.
Okay.
The next morning, he walked into Vince McMahon's office and said he was going home. WWE sent his termination papers by courier.
I like the fact that even though like he was talking about Vince when he was referencing that, but he refuses to call the man in the business suit Corporate Kane. It's like a double-shotted joke because Kane always wore a business suit and he became corporate. He became corporate after giving up the mask to the Authority and just started wearing business suits and just slacks and just it's fucking. Oh man, it is so fucking stupid. It's funny as fuck, but it's so fucking stupid.
They arrived on June 13th, 2014.
Via FedEx.
His wedding day. That is the death. That morning. That hallway. The car pulling away from a building that had taken everything a body could give and then sent the invoice on the one day it would land like a final, fatal blow. That is where the man's story ends. But the haunting was just about to begin.
The first resurrection. Oh, the UFC, yeah.
Awaken to a world of wonder in Final Fantasy XIV Online.
I know everyone likes to clown Punk because of how little
easy
are
and play
like
your way.
just 2 matches in UFC. But the difference between him and others, even though he had lost
Every
his
ghost
matches, he
story
had the
has a
balls to
resurrection
actually
that
do it.
doesn't quite work.
He had the balls to
The
try it out
spirit
because he was
comes
legit
back.
happy when
It
he was
just
coming out.
doesn't fit
Even though
inside
he
its own
lost, he was
skin
legit
anymore.
happy, man.
Phil Brooks returned to professional wrestling in Chicago in August
Oh, yeah, and
2021.
then,
19,000
that AEW.
people screamed for a man who had been gone for 7 years, with the specific
man.
intensity of people welcoming back someone they had
I remember exactly where I was when CM Punk returned to both AEW and WWE. It was at Prince Asuka.
quietly, privately, given up on. In his hometown, in the building where he had made his name. It was about as close to a religious experience as a room that smells like beer and sweat is ever going to get. For those 7 years, the chant had mutated into something he never intended. It stopped being about him. It became a weapon.
All you Chicagoans are alike, right? You're just like CM Punk, right?
3 syllables the crowd could aim at a company like a finger pointed at a wound. During John Cena matches.
Guilty.
During Roman
Oh, yeah,
Reigns'
you like
title
my,
defenses.
gavel?
During the long, airless stretches of television when the audience had been given nothing worth caring about and needed a language for their contempt. Thousands of people would open their mouths and say a name, not because they thought he was coming back, but because his name had become the most precise way to say, this is not good enough. CM Punk. CM Punk. CM Punk. A 3-syllable verdict. A recurring protest vote held in arenas across the country. The ghost of a man who told the truth and vanished had become the crowd's shorthand for everything the machine refused to give them.
Exactly.
He was more powerful absent than most men are present. He signed with the UFC and spent 2 years at Rufus Port Academy in Milwaukee. Boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, back surgery.
I just had back surgery.
The full, unglamorous infrastructure of a sport that accepts neither preparation gaps nor narrative momentum as substitutes for physical reality. He entered
was
the
in
octagon
excellent
at
shape,
37 with no professional record. He went winless in 2 fights. He has said his biggest regret about MMA was starting too late. That sentence is worth holding for a moment, because he would have gone anyway. He was always going to go. The outcome was never really the point. While the man was losing fights and learning how to absorb damage in a new discipline, the image of him was suspended in amber, frozen at the moment of maximum grievance.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He couldn't disappoint anyone with a bad promo or a weak match or a booking decision the internet disagreed with at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night, because he was preserved, sitting cross-legged on that stage, speaking...
Hold on 1 second, Dan's calling. I gotta... Oh man. Hey Tan, Tag, you're it. I know. Tag, you're it. Recording. Hey bud, recording. Oh, not record. Recording a YouTube video. Yes. Alright, let's get back to it.
In complete sentences about things no one was supposed to say out loud, paying for it, and then simply not being there anymore.
Yep.
The longer he stayed gone, the more perfect he became. Absence, it turns out, is its own. He signed with All Elite Wrestling, a company that existed in measurable part because the spark he struck in 2011 had never fully gone out. It just traveled underground for a decade until it found oxygen.
Yep.
I'm reminded about a man who once sat on a stage just like that, looked in a ring just like this, and he gave one of the most important addresses in the history of our sport. It was the first hint of a revolution. I am talking about CM Punk and the pipe bomb.
AEW was that oxygen. It was built, in spirit if not in direct lineage, from the same rage at the same machine that had produced the pipe bomb in the first place. And now that company was handing him a microphone, a main event slot, and the creative autonomy he had spent his entire career treating as a non-negotiable. The resurrection had every condition it needed. The stage was set, the crowd was ready. The man was back. But coming back to the place of the wound is not the same as arriving somewhere new. The wound is the architecture, the whole identity, the anger, the language, the positioning, the moral authority. It's all organized around the wound. And when you return to a world where the wound no longer exists in its original form, you don't suddenly become a different person. You find a new wound. Or you manufacture one. Because without it, you don't know what you are. In AEW, there was no Vince McMahon. No glass ceiling to map in real time. No machine vast enough to name on a live microphone in a way that made people feel like they were witnessing something genuinely dangerous.
Yep.
What there was instead? A locker room fractured along old loyalties. A long-running rupture between him and his former closest friend Colt Cabana that had never healed. That had in fact kept tearing, slowly, across years in lawsuits and silences. And a group of executive vice presidents who were loyal to that friend in ways that felt, to him, like the architecture of a conspiracy.
He did a podcast with Colt Cabana where he took
Out of Wrestling,
WWE and Dr. Chris Amon. A lawsuit was filed that led to the deterioration of his relationship with Colt Cabana. Both of them were sued by Dr. Chris Amon, who was allegedly financed by WWE.
The paranoia was not irrational in isolation. This industry does traffic in selective leaks and institutional loyalty.
Yep.
Backstage politics in professional wrestling are not metaphorical. They are operational. They shape careers, they end them. But the paranoia was also a pattern that predated AEW. The mother who kept harassing him for money, brother who stole from him, medical staff who ignored his injuries and infections, the company that chose his wedding day to deliver termination papers. Phil Brooks has spent his entire life inside institutions that betray him. Sometimes the institutions are genuinely guilty. Sometimes the man mistakes shadows for enemies because he has only ever learned to live among them. The difficult, unresolvable question, the one that follows him from building to building and company to company, is whether he can tell the difference anymore, or whether, at this point, he even wants to. He won the AEW World Championship and sat at a media table afterward and buried his colleagues publicly in front of journalists. The wound required an enemy to press against, and the elites were the closest available ones. Without a wound to press against, you're just a man in a room.
Sorry,
Phil
the
Brooks
Tony
has
Khan
never
thing.
known how to be just a
Give me
man
that all
in a
the
room. The physical altercation that followed, backstage at All Out in September 2022, involving multiple members of the roster, sent people to medical attention, but it did not end his employment. He was suspended. He returned. The ghost was still in the building, still pressing, and Phil Brooks, the man who had walked away from WWE because he refused to let an institution consume him, was now locked in a deteriorating relationship with an owner who had begun to see him as a liability. Tony Khan had given him the keys. Now, he was watching him use them to break the windows. A year later, at All In London in August 2023, there was another incident, another backstage confrontation, this one with Jack Perry, and this one did not end in a suspension. In the interview afterward, he described his own conduct in the minimum available vocabulary.
I didn't punch anybody. I just choked somebody a little bit.
The first resurrection did not take. What came back was close enough to produce the reaction, to sell the tickets, to produce the moments. And it did produce them, genuinely. The heat of the original had come from specific, verifiable truth, delivered to an audience that could feel the difference between authentic rage and manufactured rage. What returned to AEW in 2021 looked like that, moved like that, sometimes even sounded like it. But CM Punk is a ghost, and spirits don't come back to make peace. They come back to collect a debt. Phil Brooks thought he had outrun it. What he didn't realize was that it was already living inside of him. AEW thought they could contain it. They gave it its own show, its own night, its own walls. But no walls are thick enough to contain something like this, especially when it has already found its perfect vessel.
I found this site called box.gg that'll let you unbox packs on their site, and they'll ship the physical cards straight to you.
Wow. Man, this is really good. This is really good. Shit. I really want to split this video into 2 parts because it's been a while, but you know what? I might just keep this video as is. You know, this is the first reaction video back in a very long time. And, you know, things are getting better now in my personal life. And, oh, man. This is because I'm feeling good, I'm feeling nice, I'm going to let this video continue because, like, you know, like I said, this is my first video in a long time coming back. So it's going to be a long video. So let's do it. Let's continue.
Here is what a ghost cannot do. A ghost cannot feel a torn triceps. A ghost cannot feel a herniated disc. A ghost cannot feel 49 minutes in a Royal Rumble on broken ribs with a concussion building behind its eyes. But Phil Brooks can feel all of those things. The Body is a documentary. 25 years of physical evidence that the man inside it kept showing up regardless of what the showing up cost. This part of the story does not belong to CM Punk at all. CM Punk is a character built for the microphone, for the promo, for the controlled demolition of an argument on live television. Frictionless in performance, devastating in a sentence. The Body is the other man's contribution, the one who does not get the chance, does not get the iconography, does not get the cross-legged mythology. He has described the effects of CTE, the brain damage that builds from years of concussive impact, with the tone of a man describing weather in a city he used to live in. Familiar, slightly regrettable. He has described vomiting every night on a European tour.
I'm on all fours after every match, and I'm either puking for real or I'm just dry heaving because I don't have anything in my stomach.
And the antibiotics that fix the symptoms without touching the infection underneath.
He was getting bad side effects from it.
SmackDown because I hit my pants.
That's right.
He has described soiling himself on live television the way someone describes a bad commute. These are not performances of stoicism. They are the natural register of a person for whom the body's suffering has been constant long enough that dramatic vocabulary no longer fits. CM Punk has never been short of dramatic vocabulary. It is the body that runs out of it first. At the 2024 Royal Rumble, his first major match after returning to WWE,
I was there for that Rumble too.
During the match itself.
I was there for that.
He finished the match. He went to surgery. He healed. He came back and fought Drew McIntyre in a brutal, bloody Hell in a Cell.
That was a match
does not know
too.
that CM Punk is
hell of
long
a
gone.
match.
Nobody told it. It keeps showing up. It keeps absorbing the damage. It keeps healing in the crooked way that bodies heal after enough accumulated punishment. But ghosts are frozen. The CM Punk that 19,000 people screamed for was the one who disappeared in 2014. He was young enough to be reckless, wronged enough to be dangerous, with a specific enemy vast enough to justify the anger. The wound made it. The machine made it. The suppression made it. But a 46-year-old body carrying a 35-year-old grudge, in a company that has already handed him the microphone and given him the stage, that is a different equation. The rage still works, but something underneath it has shifted, in the way that something always shifts when the thing you were fighting finally opens the door and lets you in. This is what haunts the haunting. The ghost wears the body, but the body has its own logic, its own memory, its own refusal to stop. It climbs back up every time it is knocked down. Not because the character requires it, not because the performance demands it, but because the man made a decision at age 8 in a car in Lockport, Illinois, and has not yet found a reason to revise it. The body is the proof that the man is still in there, somewhere behind the performance, somewhere underneath the ghost. And the body is the only honest thing about him that is left.
Damn.
The second resurrection was different from the first.
That was real. Like, that legit was real. Oh, boy. All right, let's continue. When the Jedi become the Sith. Oh, boy. This is going to be fun.
In November 2023, Phil Brooks walked through a curtain in Chicago and came back to the company that had mailed him termination papers on his wedding day. The crowd made the noise it always makes when something it has stopped believing possible suddenly happens. The held breath, the shaking walls, the specific quality of disbelief converting to sound. But something was different in the building he came back to. Paul Levesque, Triple H, the man Brooks had spent years naming as a political operative who suppressed his momentum, was now running creative. On the night of the return, Levesque walked up to him backstage with a scripted promo in his hands, looked at it, crumpled it, threw it away. "Nobody here has ever seen you hold a script," he said. "You're CM Punk. Just go out there and talk to the people." Phil Brooks has told this story with audible relief. The relief is the most revealing thing about it. Everything he had demanded, the creative autonomy, the institutional trust, the room to be CM Punk rather than a corporate approximation of him, those conditions now existed. Because time had passed. Because the person who had created the bad conditions had been removed from power by forces that had nothing to do with any individual performer's grievance. The machine changed on its own schedule, for its own reasons, and left the argument standing in an empty room with nobody to have it with. The ghost came home and found that the haunting had already been resolved without it. There is a pattern in history that repeats often enough to have a name. The French Revolution devours its own architects. The Bolsheviks dismantle the Tsar and build a regime that makes the Tsar look restrained. The counterculture of the 60s becomes the advertising language of the 70s. Every rebellion, at the moment of its victory, faces the same problem. It was defined entirely by what it was fighting. And when the fighting stops, the identity doesn't know what to do with itself. It either finds a new enemy, or it becomes the thing it replaced. There is rarely a third option. CM Punk is that pattern in a wrestling ring. The identity was built as opposition, the outsider who saw through the scaffolding, the voice that named what everyone else was paid to ignore. He spent years describing, in precise and angry detail, the institutional conditions that prevented him from doing his best work. He left. He was gone for nearly a decade. He came back and found the conditions he had demanded through the simple erosion of the problem. The rebel won by outlasting the thing he was rebelling against. Paul Heyman called 2026 the year CM Punk got to cash in all his rebel chips. He said the rebel forces won. He said the rebel is now the establishment. Read that sentence twice.
The rebel is now the establishment.
The corporate machine that once suppressed him now trusts him to anchor a $5 billion streaming deal. The man who said he was the voice of the voiceless now has the loudest microphone in the building. And he has used that microphone to perform in Riyadh. In January 2020, before the return, before the resurrection, he told The Miz on Twitter to go suck a blood money in Saudi Arabia. The tweet was profane. It was also precise. It named the thing WWE had spent considerable resources asking everyone not to name. In June 2025, at the Night of Champions kickoff show in Riyadh, CM Punk stood in front of a Saudi crowd that was booing him and apologized.
I woke up and I was crabby and I wrote a mean tweet to The Miz. I really apologize to you and of Saudi Arabia.
He did not mention the blood money. The man who built an identity on saying the thing nobody was paid to say stood in the country he once named by name.
He didn't need, I don't think he even needed to address the blood money, because the fact that he apologized for the tweet itself, everybody remembers exactly what it said. So, and that it caused everyone to remember. It's like, oh shit.
I am not perfect by any means.
And explained that the naming had been a mood, a bad morning, a lesson learned. The pipe bomb, it turned out, had an expiration date, and the expiration date was whenever the calendar said Riyadh. The ghost got everything it wanted. That is the most terrifying ending of all. By the time CM Punk wins the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam 2025, defeating Gunther in a match in front of 60,000 people, he is 46 years old and the undisputed face of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, a platform that paid $5 billion for the rights to broadcast him.
Plus, I'm just happy that this year's CM Punk had his main event, his true WrestleMania main event moment. He truly got the WrestleMania main event, and that is WrestleMania Night 2, Sunday, which WrestleMania should only be one show, one night. That's what I truly believe. WrestleMania should be one show, one night. But if we're going to do 2 nights, give WrestleMania Night 1 all to NXT and TNA and AAA. I know TNA and AAA have, Bound for Glory / Genesis, and AAA has Triple Mania, but give WrestleMania to everyone in NXT and the 2 side brands TNA and AAA, because that will give them more notoriety and recognition in each of their respective companies. Like, that's what you want to do. You want to give Night 1 to AAA, TNA, and NXT. Like, WrestleMania should surely be where a feud ends and a championship, and a championship changes titles or changes hands. Or at least where the peak of the feud hits and then rides that peak. And then finally Hell in a Cell is where, the feuds end. But, what they need to do is they need to stop making Hell in a Cell a pay-per-view. If they already didn't, they need to stop doing it. If they did, awesome. And only keep Hell in a Cell as a stipulation match to end a feud, because that's what that's what it's for. The second thing they need to do is to bring back Money in the Bank, but they need one for each night. One for Night 1. It'll be either NXT, AAA, or TNA with their Money in the Bank, and then because that way the wrestlers that are on NXT, TNA, and AAA can cross promotions and whatnot. And Night 2 has to have Money in the Bank for Raw and SmackDown. Only, have it look like the old Money in the Bank briefcases. I don't like the new gold one or whatever. I like the classic black Money in the Bank WrestleMania, or black briefcase with WrestleMania printed across it. A black Halliburton case with WrestleMania printed across it. That's the legit one. The CM Punk one was my favorite, both of them. And the WrestleMania 25, if I could have one with WrestleMania 25 and WrestleMania 26, those 2 briefcases with just the logos of WrestleMania printed on them are my kind of thing. So, yeah, have Night 1 be, if we're going to have 2 nights, have Night 1 be NXT, AAA, and TNA, and Night 2 be Raw and SmackDown. That's it. It's not that hard.
Seth Rollins cashed in. The reign lasted 5 minutes and 9 seconds. He came back from it. He won the vacant title. He became the anchor of the Netflix era without issuing a single pipe bomb. So what does CM Punk do with that? He performs. He defends the championship on Netflix. He sells out the United Center. He gets introduced with Michael Jordan's entrance music by the man who once announced Michael Jordan in the building where Jordan played, in front of 19,000 people, from the city that produced both of them. He lands on the cover of a video game. He stands in the main event of WrestleMania. Everything the character was ever promised. Everything the man ever demanded.
The true main event of WrestleMania.
On schedule, by the machine that once withheld it. The fans who spent 7 years chanting his name as a protest vote noticed. Some had been waiting for the second coming. What they got was a technically immaculate 46-year-old man in a very expensive production. The chants are still there. The rooms are still full. But in certain sections of certain arenas, the noise has changed character. The people who once chanted CM Punk as an act of opposition now have to decide what exactly they are opposing when CM Punk is the show. The pipe bomb worked because it was a man with nothing left to lose telling the truth in a room that wanted him to lie. That specific charge required specific conditions: genuine suppression, authentic grievance, a corporate machine vast enough to justify the anger pressing against it. Those conditions are gone, and the audience that always could feel the difference between authentic rage and manufactured rage is still in those seats, still listening. In Return of the Jedi, the rebellion wins. The Emperor falls. The Death Star burns. The galaxy is free. It is the most satisfying ending in the series because it gives the audience exactly what it came for. What it does not show, what no one was eager to dramatize, is what the rebellion becomes the morning after. How the generals become politicians. How the freedom fighters become administrators.
Yep.
How the thing that made them worth following
Every
was the
rebellion
war itself,
will eventually
and the
have
war is over,
an established government.
and now they have to govern. And governing is not cinematic. The sequel trilogy tried to resolve this by having the Empire simply return, because without the Empire, nobody knew what the story was about anymore. CM Punk is still here, still working, still filling buildings. The chant still goes up, the rooms still shake. But somewhere between the pipe bomb and the Netflix deal, between the walkout and the championship celebration, something shifted in the frequency of it. Like a song you heard once at 18, in a car, at 2 in the morning, driving nowhere in particular, and it meant something that you have never been able to fully explain to another person. You hear it now in a supermarket, between the announcements about discounts on bread. It is the same song, same melody, same lyrics, but you are not the same person. The car is gone, and you can never get back to the version of yourself that heard it for the first time.
Facts.
Neither can he.
Wow, what a hell of a return to YouTube, huh? Hell of a return to YouTube.
There is an old argument about ghosts, about why they stay anchored to the place of the wound, rather than moving on to wherever the wound is no longer relevant. The argument is usually that the ghost doesn't know it's dead. Phil Brooks knows exactly what died in that hallway in January 2014. He knows the version of CM Punk that made audiences genuinely uncertain whether they were watching truth or television. He knows that version is gone. He knows what he is doing when he walks out there now. He knows. But he comes back anyway. The fans calling him a hypocrite are correct on the surface. The fans calling him boring are correct in a specific way. The promos are technically sound and emotionally inert. A perfect replica of a weapon that looks right, sounds right, has all the correct components. But the room wants to hear it now, because the room paid $5 billion to hear it. That is precisely the problem. CM Punk is the ghost. The performance of the man who died in that hallway, the shape of the rage, and the authenticity that existed before January 2014, and has been imperfectly reconstructed ever since. The seance, the tribute act, the band playing its greatest song slightly off-key, because the original was recorded 20 years ago and the instruments had been lost. Phil Brooks is the man who keeps carrying the ghost out in front of the audience. The man who decided at 8 years old never to lose control of his own body. Who built a chosen family out of borrowed parts because his biological one was flawed. Who delivered himself to a machine he knew was indifferent to his health for 20 years. Who got fired on his wedding day and came back anyway. The fans who have turned on him are not wrong about what they're seeing. The character has been absorbed. The rebellion has been sponsored. These are true observations, and they are true. What they miss is everything underneath the character. He married AJ Lee, who grew up in grinding poverty, who fought a locker room that spent years refusing to take her seriously, who wrote a book about living with bipolar disorder with a title that is a reclamation and a punchline simultaneously. She grew up with the same illness that made his childhood unsafe. He found in her the thing his mother could not provide. Someone who manages the illness rather than deploying it, who names it and refuses to let it run the household unchecked. He talks about his dog Larry, who used to stand on his chest to wake him up in the morning. He has Larry's paw print tattooed on that exact spot. The night he won the World Heavyweight Championship, they went back to the hotel. No after party, just the two of them, pizza, ice cream, what they call a Larry pie, and the quiet of a room where the championship means exactly what it means to the two people in it. The character of CM Punk was never built for happiness. It was built for righteous suffering, for glorious defiance, for the dignity of the man who is correct in a world that refuses to acknowledge it. But Phil Brooks found happiness anyway. It cost him the purity of his mythology. He appears to be completely fine with the trade. He will not stop. He has no mechanism for stopping.
Buggy whipped arm, no brain hillbilly. You think you can come here to the business, my business of pro wrestling, and run your mouth while you just wrote a check that your narrow ass can't cash. You want to talk about ticket sales? Do me a favor. Call up that agent that was foolish enough to shoehorn you into this business and this show and tell him to lower the ticket prices.
The decision made in that car in Lockport at 8 years old was about one thing: surrender. He has never chosen it. Not to the alcoholism he grew up in. Not to the machine. Not to the staph infection. Not to the octagon. Not to the locker room. Not to the FedEx envelope. Not to the fans who have decided the character no longer means what it once meant. So he will climb back into the ring again, and he will carry the ghost out with him, the way he carries everything he has ever survived. On April 19th in Las Vegas, he will stand across from Roman Reigns and 50,000 people. Some in love with a version of him that may no longer exist. Some waiting for him to prove them right. Most somewhere complicated in between. And he will be exactly, completely, ruthlessly himself. Which is, when you look at the full shape of this life, is the most terrifying and the most beautiful thing about him. The ghost is real. It always was. But this is no longer a ghost story. Thank you for watching till the end. If you want to know how the machine that once suppressed CM Punk became the machine he now anchors, that video is on screen right now.
Alright, so those who are wanting to go subscribe to WrestleFun, that was an amazing video. That was, wow, that was amazing. And I'm already subscribed, so, like, oh my gosh. Guys, I cannot tell you how much of a return this definitely is, like a return to form, because, man, when I tell you, like, this opened my eyes to so many things, and not only, like, you know, like how we perceive what's going on this, but my own personal life too. And man, when I tell you, it is, oh shit. I keep almost knocking out my thing. I got to get a new mic and everything for this. So anyways, that was amazing. That was 100% amazing. I can't tell you guys how awesome watching this video was, how much of a better understanding it does, how much light is shed onto this. That's amazing. So if you guys want to watch this video on your own and react to it, the video is called CM Punk Was Right and Nobody Listened, and 100% I would invest that time into watching this. So thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends and family if you think it's appropriate, and if it's inappropriate, share with your friends on the entire internet. My name is Referee Rob Jackson. Thank you for coming back and enjoying this video and enjoying your time here, your stay here, and checking out my referee set, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye everybody, have a great day, God bless you, and stay safe.